that one. Hey, everybody, PowerHouse podcast people or PowerHousers, whatever y'all want to be called. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Zach, the other host. I got Dan, the host, or however that works.
Hello.
I think we are here, right?
Yeah, we're here. And
Zach,
we're live.
Oh, and live. So we have a phone number. We can take some calls.
Hold on. Let me put it on here.
What is the phone? This is a fun game, isn't it?
Every week. I can't even read it. It's too little. We don't. There's someone calling, but it's not for the show.
All right. So the phone number, if you want to call in, is 878-4987. That's 901-878-4987.
All right. Cool. Good job, Zach.
Yeah, this show is brought to you by MFC Manufacturing, Impalo, and Memphis Fence Company, hosted by Memphis Fence Company.
Yeah.
Being that we're at Memphis Fence Company.
On the Memphis Fence property. Right. So,
yeah.
Cool. So, Zach, I'm Dan.
Tonight's a cool one. We got a guest here tonight. We mentioned previously about wanting to do this. I think when we did the second episode, we talked a bit about Memphis Company's history. And there was some mention about the, I don't want to say rocky, but kind of uncertain.
A little rocky. That's
rocky,
a fair put.
Okay, yeah. Rocky beginning or uncertain beginning, and how that was kind of a.
We can tell them now. It's all in the past.
And there were some, misgivings about whether or not to keep Memphis Fence going, for you to buy it and get involved. And some were saying no, a lot of no's. A lot of don't you dare, you're crazy maniac.
All no's, even from myself. Yeah.
So, well, here we are. 15?
10 and a half.
Cool.
Yeah.
Years later. So
still trucking.
I just met this guy today, so I think I'm going to let you take over and do a little bit of talking about why you got him on the show, who he is, the relationship, do the intro since he's your dude.
All right. Sounds good. So I thought we'd do something a little bit different this time and actually do like a show summary at the beginning and let people know what it's going to be about.
I like that.
That way, if you want to listen, cool. If you don't, leave. So
don't forget, I'll still be on it the whole time.
That's right. So we'll still be here. So
to watch me.
And if you change your mind, you can come back. So we've got the banker Kirk Richardson here in studio with us, and we're gonna tell the story about how he saved the day about 10 years ago and how he's been helping us ever since. Yeah. And we're going to give some pointers on how people might be able to get some like emergency cash if you find yourself in that situation. And then we'll talk a little bit about what kind of relationship you should have with your bank and how to keep them happy. So when you do call them, they'll answer the phone and help you out. And then how we can, we'll talk about a line of credit a little bit.
Cool.
And, kind of go through some banking relationship money type stuff. So
I'm excited.
That's the agenda.
This is something we've talked about a good bit in the process of becoming or transitioning into commercial fence, specifically the much needed cash flow and that good relationship with the bank and banker, right?
Yeah.
So cool. I'm sure there's some people waiting to hear something about that.
Can we show?
Yeah, I didn't know I was supposed to say anything yet.
There he is.
Welcome, Kirk, everybody.
Yeah.
Sitting over on the sideline waiting.
Anxiously awaiting your big debut.
They want to mess up the show,
Right. I don't think any way to mess it up. I think
I'm looking at you like, am I supposed to say anything yet?
We got over that fear on like episode 1, and it's here we are. So we would learn some Italian, but you got us?
No? Maybe at the end of the show.
Okay. Okay.
So Ilaria is out again. She should return next week. So we'll get back to our learning Italian. Maybe we'll catch up on the past 2 weeks. That'd be cool. Do 3 words. I'm excited because I'm good at it.
I can't even.
Of course,
I
want to do it.
I'm terrible.
Yeah.
I got like a C last time. I was getting solid Fs before, but
so who come up with the idea of that? Just because she's Italian?
I don't.
Yeah, we just thought it'd be it'd be humorous. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially. I like to joke about us as having kind of thick Southern accents, which I don't particularly.
Sure I do too.
So that's my character of me and Dan talking is often a lot more Southern sounding than I actually sound. So,
yep.
All right, I have it on Google. Let's see if you can hear it.
Tanti soldi.
Which is We're hoping this is going to be big
Oh,
money.
big money. Sorry.
Big
yes.
money in
Big
Italian.
money.
Big money.
What you got?
Here it is again.
Tanti soldi.
Nothing.
Tanti soldi.
Denti
Denti
saldi.
salty.
Tanti
Sounds like
soldi.
salty.
Tanti soldi.
Salty.
What you got, Zach?
Denti salty.
It's with a T.
Salty. Tanty?
Denti
They're
salty.
all
salty.
T's.
Starts with a T.
Oh, Tanty.
Oh, tinty. Salty.
T-A.
Tanty salty.
That's
Denti salty.
Good job. You did it.
So,
pretty good.
all right. So got that out of the way. So our
Speaking of
listeners,
rocky beginnings.
yeah. So our listeners, I think, are people who are either, pretty new in the commercial world or looking to expand maybe in the commercial fence world, or even some people that want to get into the commercial fence. And I don't know who listens to the show. Maybe we have some people that have been doing it for 100 years and they like to make fun of us, but that's
and my mom.
Oh, and your mom? We actually, so Ilaria has been in Italy, and so we have some Italian listeners now.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do have internet there. We've established that, but yeah. Oh, in South Africa,
Right.
we had a
that's
new
cool.
listener somewhere around like Cape Horn, I think, down in South
Cool.
Africa.
So you get some report that shows you
Yeah,
exactly where these people
that's
are.
right.
Cool.
Yeah, so we got the U.S. is all
Don't
covered.
make them more nervous.
No, I'm
Oh,
not
right,
nervous.
right.
I'm just
Yeah, so we got the U.S.
Curious.
covered, and so we've had one person in like Brussels that's
Mhm.
listened to every episode, I think.
oh, wow.
And now we got somebody in South Africa tuning in, and like I said, a few in Italy, but I think that was all just Ilaria and her family over there.
That's cool,
probably,
though.
but
That's good.
Let's
Yeah.
take what we can get, man.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, so hopefully this whole story can maybe the beginning part of it maybe will be some encouragement for somebody, or maybe some local people will listen and laugh at us or whatever. And then from there we can probably give some advice on, the other things we talked about.
An intro with the little,
The background.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on that.
Yeah. So that's the next part, is to start where I met Kirk. All right. So after, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
You sure?
I was just wondering if we do like a quick refresher of Memphis Fence prior to the meeting of Kirk, just real quick. Grandfather
Good
started
idea.
it 1971,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you kind of worked here a little bit. Your dad owned it, and he passed in, and then enter Kirk. Yeah. something
Yeah.
like that.
So my grandfather died, left it to dad. I bought it from dad. And so that's a part of this story, is
Okay.
that, so my grandfather died in 2011, and at the time there was some debt and banking business going on with a big bank. And when my grandfather died, the bank freaked out. And so then about a year after that, I came in and bought the fence company from my dad. I was 24 years old, so now freaked out again. And so when I bought the fence company, I inherited all of the outstanding debt that was with this other big bank and anything for vehicles and equipment and all of that stuff. But none of them worried too much. It was just the big bank and the big loan. So I'm pretty sure the name of the division that they put us in is like special assets.
assets.
Okay. Yeah. So it makes you sound special,
But
but
you're not special.
no, that's code word for get rid of these people.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
If you want me to speak a little bit on that.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I took a job in that division for that bank with a friend of mine who was doing that. And when I first got there, kind of learning the ropes of how it works, and that's exactly how they explained it to me. It was, when these people come here to special assets, your job is to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they said. Get rid of them, get them out of here, whatever you got to do.
Well, that's what it felt like.
So yeah, you were not very special.
No. So I remember we had a meeting. I don't even know where it was, but it was a big conference table and some people in suits and all that stuff. And, they're like, wait, what's going on here? That kind of reaction. And yeah, it didn't go very well. So we were in the special assets division, and what that meant was they jacked our payment way up. They said,
Trying to
look,
accelerate the debt.
yep. Yeah. So they said, we'll let you keep the debt here with this bank. We'll call it XYZ. But what we're going to do is we're going to jack your rates up and we're going to jack the payments up. And they put a balloon on it every 6 months and all of this stuff. And it was just a mess.
Let me say at this time, you weren't directly dealing with me then.
No.
Make sure you say I'm not the bad guy
Yeah,
here.
no. No, so Kirk actually had already left XYZ big bank and was no longer in
There you
that
go.
special
There you
assets
go.
division at this point. So I was dealing with some other people then. And one day out of the blue, I get a phone call and, hey, this is Kirk. Let me come help you out. You know, that kind of conversation. And he told me that because he had worked in that division and he knew some people there and all, one of them had kind of connected us. And so we started talking a little bit and basically refinanced the old debt that we had at big bank and moved it to his small bank. And I mean, I think cut the monthly payment down to like a third of what we were paying before, something like that. I
don't remember exactly, but yeah, it was
I went
big
back
difference.
I went back today and I looked at all of it to see like what the payments were and what it was after we refinanced and all that. So, but yeah, so it made a big difference. And so that happened about a year after buying Memphis Fence was when we made our first payment to you. So, you know, probably took a few months leading up to that.
I think your father-in-law was coming into the bank at that time. Like we had not a real relationship, but we would have to talk about things or whatever. And he mentioned maybe that he worked here, whatever it was at the time. So it kind of turned into, you know, in my mind, I started thinking, hey, I remember that. Let me give that guy a call. That's kind of where that started.
Okay. All right. So that's where the connection was
made.
Yeah,
it's kind of the little bit of sparked my memory, I guess.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
So, man, back then things were tough for us. And as Zach has mentioned, we didn't really know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to make it. We didn't know if this place was even going to survive. Right. And so by being able to cut that note down to 1/3 of what we were trying to pay, it was a big deal. And are you laughing? No. Oh, sorry. So we had to make a lot of other tough decisions. Yeah. Right.
Somebody left real quick. Cover that one. Yeah, I am.
So we had to make a lot of tough choices back then. We had to cut out a bunch of stuff. And then we went 2.5 years. And then we got back to Kirk and we said, hey, what if we refinanced all of the debt? So like all of the trucks, the equipment, everything else that we had going. I think there was a couple of truck lease inherited that were like in about that same time. We rolled those into it. We basically just lumped everything together into one big note. And again, that saved a bunch of cash every month. Now it did in the terms of some of the, because, you know, we had already paid it halfway down or whatever, but the monthly cash thing was the key for us at that time.
I don't remember the exact details, but you probably do more than me, but it was more of at XYZ big bank, they had you down, let's say, to a 5-year or 10-year type payback to try to accelerate that debt, get rid of it. And we may have, I don't even know, you may know, but did we do it out, 15, 20-year type thing? Whatever we did is how we created that.
I think it was more of like they had us down to like a 2-year.
Like a quick one. Yeah.
And we like got it to 5 years or something.
Whatever it was different.
Yeah. And then, so the equipment and the vehicles and all, that was just like sprawled out, right? That wasn't at one single bank or anything else. It was just like when stuff had been purchased and financed and all, we just kind of lumped all of that in together. So we started paying on that. And like I said, it did take us longer. And then we got all the way to 2020. So it took us 7 years to pay off all the debt that we inherited when we bought this company. And so I have a little note here. That's 7 years of listening to people complain about not buying new trucks, new equipment, new anything. But the entire time, like, we were paying off debt on old stuff. And a lot of that stuff was like wore out already. And we were still trying to get it paid off. We did some other things during that time too. Like, we had to get rid of a few benefits that we had and, cut a bunch of stuff. And it was rough there for a bit.
And I don't remember exactly how the conversation went. I wish it's been a long time ago, but I know when we talked, it was more of hey, I got this lease out there, whatever it was. And
Mm.
I wish I could remember exactly the conversation of how it came about. Like we said, you know what, why don't you just start combining this,
Yeah.
and this and make it into one deal. I wish I had that whole conversation because
Right.
that was kind of the light bulb going off that we said, you know what, we could get by with combining this stuff and making it easier for you.
Yeah. I figure it was just some crazy idea where I like called you and asked if I could buy a spaceship.
You
And that was
you
probably where it
did.
started. And you're like, well, I don't know about that, but what if we did this instead? So,
That's a lot of our conversation.
right.
Hey, can I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I do?
I'm more scared that he's gonna call you than another woman.
Yeah. I think you've made that comment before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you gonna
So-
do? Call Kirk?
Yeah.
All right.
So I told Kirk whenever he got here, I was like, the person around here you need to be worried about is my wife
Yeah.
because she hates to hear I'm calling Kirk.
That just means borrowing more money.
That's right. So, yeah, since we kind of started this whole process with Kirk, we have, finance some other vehicles and property and equipment and all that stuff together since doing the initial thing. So Kirk's helped us out. He has changed banks a few times along the ways. And so what we've done is we've just followed him. And so
That's why your wife's worried.
that's right. That's right. And so we just kind of followed him. And to me, we've talked about this a little bit before with suppliers. I think the most important thing with any of your like sales rep or any of your suppliers, vendors, bankers, insurance people, any of that is to have a person that you can call and that you can work with. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just gonna ask. So, Kirk, what made you want to take the chance on Dan?
I mean, he's such a good looking dude.
I understand that.
That's the same thing she said.
No, I don't, like I said, I don't remember exactly because it's been so long ago, but it was more of a, as a banker, you're always trying to look for business, try to figure out how to, at that time, now you have such a, I hate to say following, but you have people that kind of know you and contact you.
Yeah, Kirk's a celebrity now.
Yeah. Now I'm a celebrity.
Back
so
then, he was still
Celebrity
hungry.
Bankers.
now Dan has to call me like 18 times. He let me know today 18 times before I answer. So.
I wasn't even going to say anything like that on here, but
but no, it was more of a, back then I had gone from doing what I do as far as loans and production to that special asset type division that was a total different situation. I mean, we went from you're going out, you're trying to call on people, get deals, to that division for 4 years, however long I was there, getting rid of people and kind of, so you had to transition back into, now I got to be the nice guy again instead of, and it was hard. It's a different mentality both ways. So at that time when I'm getting right back into production side and trying to gain customers again. So you're always looking for ways of, you know what, and like I said, maybe sparked it talking to father-in-law that happened to know my boss at the time and kind of came
Yeah.
up like, hey,
through his
I'll talk
previous
to him.
employer
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
let me call him, just because I had it on my mind and I knew, because even when I went back to the bank I was at, I started thinking through that division I was in at the bigger bank, what people in that division could I help? Pretty much how it went down. It was more of it wasn't just you. It was okay, these 4 customers or whatever, I don't think they really need to be in that department. Let me see if I can help them out. So that makes sense. That's kind of where it came from.
Yeah.
Other than him being a good looking dude.
Of course.
But that's the first thing that gets you. I was going to ask a question. Oh, so what leads to someone being in the special assets division?
Oh, that's a good question. A downgrade type thing. And sometimes that's just nothing more than cash flow problem. Anytime the auditors come in and they kind of look at your credits, if let's just say you had a customer that I had 2 years of tax returns and it's been 3 more years and I've never gotten anything from them, all of a sudden an auditor or somebody may come in and say, all right, we're going to downgrade this credit because really you don't know the situation or know the cash flow or whatever he's got going on now. So we need to
Right.
downgrade. So once you get downgraded to a certain level, at that point, a bigger bank like that's totally different because they're at that point they're thinking, get rid of them.
Right.
Move them on, whatever,
Right.
get them paid off. That's why I've always enjoyed being in a community bank. That's more of a let's help people get out of the situation. Like
Mhm.
the bank I'm at now, and any other community bank I've been at, we would never even have that really type of department because we'd say, okay, Dan took over the company. Yeah, it kind of looks funny. He's a young guy trying to take over, assumed all this debt. Let's see what we can do to help him, is
Yeah.
what a community bank would do.
Yeah.
The bigger, more corporate banks are going to say, just get rid of him.
I mean, from the
That little
banker,
deal's nothing. Let's move on.
right. From the banker's perspective, I get it.
Right.
They're like, all right, the grandfather that was the guarantor on everything died.
Right.
Now 24-year-old Dan is coming in here buying this thing. Like, no, we need to do
He's
something
about to
different.
crash the ship.
Right. I get it. I understand that. So, I mean, am I bitter towards them? If they called me today and offered me something, I wouldn't do it. But do I understand? Sure, I do.
And that department is it's a wide range of why you may be there. You may be there because of your type situation, or you may be there because you are some bum that didn't pay. So
right.
it's kind of a big swing between somebody who just happened to get thrown into that department because of like your situation, or
Right.
a problem loan, or I can remember times going out to a house that maybe the bank had extended all the money on a renovation, let's just say.
Mhm.
And we go out, we take a look, we're like, why is this in special assets? It's just a house being renovated in Memphis or whatever. And you go out and on the outside, looks nice, new windows, new paint, new roof. You're thinking, oh, this is great. You walk up to the window and there's nothing but studs in the house.
Mm.
They just did a fake kind of
Oh, wow.
outer exterior look.
Oh, wow.
It got all the money for the construction / renovation, but did nothing to the inside of the house.
Right.
You got
So they
criminals.
just pocket the rest of the money,
Right, wow.
basically.
right.
Isn't that crazy?
So I mean, you go from that extreme to you're not in that category, obviously. but
right.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of showing you the difference between who could be in that.
I would just accidentally burn the house down and be like, whoops.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was just all kind of. It was. I enjoyed the 4 years of being in that department just because I learned a lot really
Mhm.
about the other side of the bank. Kind of, I hate to say the dark side, but it is kind of the dark side.
right.
And it took a long time to go back to the production / calling on people trying to get business, because you're always thinking at that point everybody's lying to me.
Mm-hmm.
Are they telling me the truth? Whatever.
Yeah.
So it takes a while to kind of. I think what I did was a good time frame of being in that department and then rolling out of that, because you don't want to stay in that forever.
Right.
You're just going to be this miserable guy
Right.
that thinks
I
everybody's
guess-
a liar and a cheat.
Right.
It'd be easy to kind of fall into the apprehension of this
Right.
guy is going to end up in the special assets
Exactly.
division and you're the one extending the money. Yeah.
But on the that is, it does on the production side, it makes you kind of look at everybody, maybe a little more,
more discerning,
closely
yeah.
and check it all out before you extend that, $50,000 draw to that house being renovated. You probably go out there and take a look,
Right.
make sure there's not,
Yeah.
sheetrock missing.
Right, for sure.
so,
That's crazy that
so you
people would
learn
do
some things.
Man,
that
we're
is
getting are y'all hearing the
I heard a
notification?
beep.
Yeah, so somehow the notifications are coming back through here. Maybe it's from
Yeah, that's
is the
probably all the
Bluetooth volume
callers.
turned down?
Well, it might be on the computer.
Is the Bluetooth volume all the way down on the Rodecaster?
that's a scam I've never heard of.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it's
Never
just
would've-
one. I could give you a bunch of them. That's
Yeah.
just one that popped in my
Another show.
mind.
So what's
A
crazy to
next
me?
show.
Right.
Yeah. So what's crazy
Yeah.
is that people don't think like, what's your future look like? I mean, yeah, you might do that one time, and what are you going to get? $150,000, $100,000?
And you could go to jail. I mean,
If you get caught, you're going to go to jail, or you could.
that was part of
whatever.
our job. I mean, we'd go down to the courthouse. I'd have to walk down there anytime we foreclosed on somebody through that department, or one of the I'll give you one quick little story, but we shut down a warehouse in Memphis that was not in the best part of town. And it was a huge warehouse that basically housed all the gum, candy, whatever you see in convenience stores, let's just say. Huge
That's
warehouse.
crazy.
And we drive up because we're going to tell them we're shutting this business down. We drive up and there's some holes in the brick wall where people all of a sudden would break in and steal the stuff out of there, whatever. 2 or 3 of those. So me and the other guy there, we pull up and we're both kind of nervous. We're like, it's
I
kind of
can imagine.
sketchy, you know.
Right.
We're going in to tell these guys we're shutting their business down. This is not good, but hey, let's go for it. Back then, we're thinking we're brave, you know. So we go into this huge warehouse, kind of dark, cobwebs everywhere, and makes you think about buying a candy bar sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But so we meet the people and they take us back to this. It's something off a movie. We go back in this back corner of the warehouse in this little bitty room, kind of like we're in here. And
Wait a minute.
we're back in this room, and these guys walk up and they got this tray of water. You want some water? No, we're good. You know, don't want to take any chances back here in this back room in the closet in the warehouse.
Right.
So that was not a fun conversation to have when you're telling somebody that you're shutting them down like that. But that was the extreme kind of stuff that sometimes went on. And that scenario that I'm talking about turned out to be a disaster because we shut that down. And then we thought, okay, we'll just, eliminate or get rid of all the stuff in the building. But I forget who came along and we had to have it all destroyed because it ended up being tested, and this is gonna make it even worse. But rats and stuff.
So all of the food.
So all the
let's
food,
make sure
everything had to be
all the
eliminated.
food that was sitting there waiting to go into a convenience store.
I
for
say
you to
convenience
buy
stores, but
on the
probably
way
where most
home
of that was
tonight.
going. Right.
And
That
when it
candy
was
bar
tested, it all had to be destroyed.
Yeah. That make you feel real
Yeah.
good.
Go buy you that Kit Kat on the way home. You know? Golly.
So like I said, I got good stories about that department, but it was fun while it lasted, but I wouldn't want to do it all the time.
No, I don't know that I'd want to do that at all.
We've,
Like that part of it.
No, it wouldn't, but that little younger, bolder back then.
Right.
We went to can I give you one more quick story?
Go ahead.
A little fun
Go ahead,
one?
man.
So we go, we couldn't contact or find this one guy that owed the bank some money. He kept kind of ducking and dodging us. So we find out, I'm not going to say where it was. It was a club, not a racket club type place, but one of those type places. And we find out he's eating lunch there. This is how bad we were. So we, he wouldn't contact us or get back with us or whatever. And he was a guy that, kind of had money or whatever. So we bust up in the club, and at this, not club like nightclub, but club like lunch club, polo type club, whatever. And he's in the room playing poker, and we bust in on the guy and talk to him and kind of corner him, and he gets all been out of shape. But I won't tell you what all happened, but that's another fun experience. We felt like the mafia,
Yeah.
Y'all found his lunch spot and rolled in there.
We
with
rolled
Julio,
there. We
huh?
sure did.
Right.
Golly. That's crazy. So
Never have I thought I'd be like scared and say, the guys from the bank are
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Get out of here, everybody.
That's
But
Kirk
just shows
from
you,
the
and I'm
bank is coming.
that's just a small portion of the joke my boss in that department had was at one time it was a Hirsch for sale, and he claimed he was going to buy it and label it with that name, special assets. And anytime we did something like that to go find somebody, we pull up in the. I said, oh my gosh,
Dressed like the Blues Brothers in a hearse with the bank's name
We
on
had
it.
fun with it, but
I'm sure the people you were going
so
to
you
see
got lucky. You didn't have to deal with all that.
Not yet, man. Not
That
yet.
make you feel any better about being in that department now? That
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
You didn't get raided or
No, we didn't have to deal with nobody came and hunted me down at the racket club.
That's
So
Right. Or Olympic Steakhouse is where it would have been.
right.
Yeah,
Olympic
none of that.
one
Steak- if you need to
restaurant.
find, he's gonna get Olympic Steakhouse in Millington.
So that should make you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had it easy.
Yeah, you had it easy.
All right.
You just thought you had it bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the checkbook thought we had it bad, So yeah, what I was saying is Kirk changed banks. We followed him, right?
Right.
And so it's my opinion that if you find a good sales rep or banker or something like that, they are a lot of times more important than the company that they work for, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
And so, we have like in the fence world, I mean, there's a ton of different vendors and suppliers and stuff like that.
Well, that's what my immediate example of that was as a steel supplier, which
Yeah.
we followed the rep. So
Right. Yep. Same exact thing. And you want to tell any more of that story or?
No, I'm going to keep it.
Okay,
I
okay.
like to keep
All
use
right.
some discretion with some of that stuff. I
Right.
think is necessary.
So there's a lot of people talking about like, oh, where should I buy this chain link material? Where should I buy this? Where should I buy that? And I mean, the answer is find a rep that takes care of you.
Buy
to
it
me.
from who you like the best, who's
That's right.
responsive and has an idea of what type of business you're in. You know, that's one thing about the rep we use at the steel vendor is like we've been doing business with them for so long that he knows. I don't
What-
even have to put dimensions or I put 3/4 by 3/4. He knows it's 16 gauge square tube.
Right.
No questions asked.
Yep.
I have no idea what that is.
Someone's calling.
Oh.
Put
That
him
was
on.
probably the guy from the club.
Put him on.
I remember that.
How do I do it?
Well, it needs to be connected. Is it connected? Should just swap the audio to the Rodecaster. Yeah.
Dan.
Is he on speakerphone?
Speaker right now.
But everyone else is sitting listening to silence right now.
Hello.
Oh, get
Who-
out of here.
Who is it?
It's Canon.
Cannon.
I have no idea how to work this.
Okay.
Cannon.
Oh, wait. Hey, Cannon, say something.
Hey.
Okay.
What is this?
Maybe you just talk to him. The phone's not connected to the Rodecaster, I think.
Okay.
You're on the podcast, man.
Sorry, listeners, for some technical issues. Yeah, so follow the sales rep, follow the people that take care of you. And to me, I mean, I could get a loan from somebody else a lot of times and get better rates than I could get with
Wait
Kirk.
a minute.
You know that's true. Big banks, man, they get competitive.
They do.
You know, they do stuff that the smaller banks just can't do.
Yeah, I wonder what Kirk's sitting here thinking to hear that we
Man.
don't shop our prices. We're just like ordering it from the same always ordered it.
Yeah.
from.
Right,
As
right.
it from a
Hmm.
banking perspective, that doesn't sound like a great business model, does it? To just
That's
use
right.
the same guy every time, like even if they're knocking on the door saying they got it
Fees a little
20%
higher
cheaper.
now.
Oh,
Right.
no. How do you think I know that his rates are a little higher than somebody else's? Like, you got to keep them on their toes sometimes, you know. But no, like I said, man, it's you can find a little bit better rates at the bigger banks and stuff like that. But I would rather pick up the phone and call Kurt and him answer the phone and say, oh, hey, Dan,
Yeah.
you know, instead of what's your account number? What's that loan number?
Well,
You know, I don't want none of that.
Well, you
And he,
go ahead.
you know the business, and so you know if the numbers are looking a little funny right now.
Right.
You've had a relationship with Memphis Fence Company to know like this is not a trend here. This is
Right.
just kind of what it looks like today. And
What I was going to say too is, you know, he even mentioned that he's followed me to several different banks, but anytime I have changed, I've always said, you know, people really don't bank with the name on the building anyway. It's exactly what you're saying. I mean, when you can pick up your phone and you can call my cell phone, you're calling me, not. And this makes me sound like I'm at the big head or something, but you're really not. You're not looking at, hey, I'm calling XYZ Bank. No, you're calling me.
Yeah, no, I'm
And-
not
and
calling
then-
the bank and asking for
Right,
you. Even.
right.
I
And
just
so it's more
directly
of a-
call you.
and I'm the guy. I got my cell phone on my card or whatever, and you know, Dan may call and go, hey, I need to do this and see if you can help me out and blah blah blah, and then we may go through a whole conversation about what we need to do, and then he goes, by the way, what bank are you at now? Yeah, so it's, at
Who
some
do-
point
who
it
do
really
we have-
doesn't matter,
Who do we have to make these payments
right?
to?
Who do I write the check to?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. And, you know, also what you get is like, I think you get people that go a little bit of the extra mile, right? Kind of like the sales rep thing. So I don't know, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? So my wife, Alyssa, and we went and met Kurt when he was
On the
like
side
out
of
on
the
a jog on the side of the road
Oh,
and had to
gosh.
give him some paperwork. And he's like, all right, yeah, I'll take this and put it
Interrupted
in the
my
mailbox.
run.
Yeah. I mean, you
I
don't,
don't want to know how you got that paperwork home. Just
It
saying.
looks shady though. I mean, we're on a kind of a side road, and
he didn't have any pockets.
I
on
had
it.
a-
know. I don't know.
I think I had a hoodie on or
You
something.
had your sweatshirt
Yeah,
on.
Dan drives up, rolls down the window, hands me a check.
Right.
It looks pretty bad. It looked pretty bad.
That's
Right.
right. So it was definitely interesting.
It goes along with the character from the country club, though.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
strong
It's like,
arm
hey,
type
meet me
deal.
on the side of the road.
Right.
Such and such. Bring me that
So-
check.
So I was talking to a Simpalo subscriber the other day, and what I find myself in, the situation I find myself in a lot with Simpalo is people just asking me general questions, right? I mean, obviously Simpalo is a fence estimating software for anyone who doesn't know, but when I do these demos and do onboardings and all of this kind of stuff, like I said, people just ask me a lot of questions about the commercial fence world. And I mean, I've had people like send me plans and be like, hey, can you look at this and tell me what it is? And, all kinds of stuff. Uh-oh.
Oh.
What's happening?
Hello?
Again?
I think the first time he just called your cell phone.
Yeah.
No,
he
this
had
is
no
somewhat
idea.
different, but this is okay. Caller, can you talk again, please?
I was calling in the podcast show. I got a question for Dan.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
hey, what's your name, man? Where are you calling from?
My name's Micah.
Cool.
I'm from Tallahassee, Florida.
Cool. Thanks for calling in. This is Zach you're talking to, but we're going to let you get Dan that question. What's the question you got for him?
Just a general fence question about pipe.
All right.
All right.
Wait, did I meet you the other day, Micah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Hey, Dan. We got a bit of extra pipe out here at the Tag Truck Center. I was wondering what you wanted me to do with it.
We'll come get it from you, probably. It's still
All right.
it's on the job site, right?
Yep, it's on the job. Everything's going great, though. We just wanted to give you an update.
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right.
All
Great
right.
show, guys. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate
calling
it.
in,
Thanks for
Micah.
calling.
That's
All right,
awesome.
later.
All right, see you.
Can't put him up to that.
Probably. So
I was hoping he was going to just make a joke
right.
out of that.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh.
bigger.
I was
joke,
waiting on it.
like
Yeah. I was real curious where that was going.
Right.
Calling to
Is-
ask a question
is
about
this going to be
pipe.
appropriate?
This one's going to be marked explicit too.
Do you have one of those buttons you could push to?
No,
Okay,
we
great.
don't.
Even better.
Go for it.
Everything gets right in. All right. So this Impala subscriber asked me the other day, he's like, man, I need to come up with some cash. This guy was kind of like had been doing a little bit of commercial work and I guess is trying to get a little more into that commercial world. And we've talked in some previous episodes about kind of how that like billing and payment cycle works, where it can take a long time to get paid. And so this guy, he tells me, he's like, he had almost $200,000 in cash saved up sitting in the bank. And he's like, I got on these 2 jobs and like, it's gone.
Suck the cash. Yep.
And, that's how it goes. Like, I mean, you can see what your profit, your net profit is on a job. And like, if it's 10%, well, then guess what? 90% of that job is what it's going to cost you to get it done.
Yep.
Right.
So it doesn't take that long to burn up some money. And so he says, what can I do to get some emergency cash? And so now I would like for you to maybe give some ideas about that.
Well, it sounds like kind of in your situation too, that you want to have some sort of line of credit set up, likely,
Yeah.
if you can do that. Now, some banks, bigger banks, kind of do a different scenario than a smaller bank, community bank would, but some of the larger banks would do more of an accounts receivable type line, maybe, depending on what that is.
Kind of
There's so many different ways to do it, but if you did like an AR type line, which, and I'm saying that for a bigger bank because us as a smaller bank, we really don't do those, but it is an option that some of the bigger banks do. But normally that's going to be capped at 50% of what your total AR may be. And it's kind of more of a complicated type line because you have to always monthly probably update those numbers so that you keep your, you can't just have a $200,000 line out there and all of a sudden your receivables go down to $100,000 or whatever.
right.
So that's one option, but mostly collateral is king. So anytime you are looking to do something like that, if you got, boatloads of equipment or boatloads of whatever you may have that has some value there that you could, I guess, provide to the bank as far as this is what we got. This is an appraisal of XYZ, all my equipment, all my inventory, whatever it is, and then have the bank set you up something like that. But normally that's going to be a line of credit with a bank. They want you to have that relationship with them too.
Yeah.
So, it's not going to be I'm just going to call XYZ bank on the side of the road because I just drove past it and, hey, can I get a line of credit?
Yeah,
Probably not going to work.
That's probably not like an immediate emergency kind of thing.
It's probably not. And because it's going to be more of a, like us, it's going to be a relationship thing. It's going to be, hey, I got my operating accounts with you. You can tell that I'm not the guy. The worst thing for a bank is somebody sets up a line of credit, they draw it all the way up, and then it just sits there.
Yeah.
And they never pay. They never pay it even halfway down, a little down, whatever. It's just fully drawn and it sits there. And then all of a sudden, a year goes by and it matures. And they go, and you call them and you go, "Hey, I need to redo this line." Well, let me look at it. Okay, you drew it up on the first week that you had it, and you never paid anything down. That's
Mhm.
probably a problem.
Right.
You really didn't do yourself any good. You just pretty much got a loan. That's
Right.
what you did.
Yeah, you got a credit card, maxed it out on day one,
Exactly.
and it's just been sitting there.
So it is a little bit more tricky product, unless you have that relationship with the bank. You have that sort of something set up to where, here, take a UCC or whatever on my business inventory, my equipment that's worth
So
this.
what's a UCC?
It's just more of a blanket type lien that
Okay.
you would put instead of listing each individual item.
Right.
So if you had I don't know, I'm making it up now, but if you had 15 different pieces of equipment and some trucks or whatever you have, instead of doing each individual VIN number, each individual serial number,
Mhm.
keeping up with all that, you may do what they call a UCC, which is a blanket lien.
And
It's
that-
like everything at that location for that business, if something happens, is mine.
And that's filed somewhere.
Yes, it is.
Right.
State,
It's not just on a napkin.
No, it's filed.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
filed.
Okay.
And it's kind of, I don't know, you still pretty much consider that stuff unsecured on the banker side of the world, because what banker, if you got $100,000 line, let's just say, and that goes bad, what bank's going to really go say, "Okay, give me that piece of fence
Right.
equipment and I'm going to go
Right.
sell it to somebody."
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna just load up this skid steer right now and take it back home with me.
right. So, I
Right.
mean, and some of that, yeah, you could kind of recoup, but it's more of I guess that's more of a relationship with the bank and the customer of, we trust each other. I'm willing to do something for you. You're willing to say, "Here's my stuff,"
Mhm.
even though technically, the bank never really wants that stuff anyway, but it's more of a give and take type thing. I'm willing to let you kind of put something out there that helps you feel better about it.
Right.
But the relationship thing is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Kenny asked how your fence was holding up.
My fence is doing well, Kenny.
Yeah.
'Cause Kenny put it up.
That's right.
That's
Had the right man for the job. out
right.
there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
I need some more fence, Kenny. Is he listening or is he watching or?
he commented, so I guess so.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll make it happen. So that's why you're here. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Get some more fence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta.
I'm actually really close to Kenny's office.
That's right.
I saw the
He
pictures
just
on the
put
wall.
our quote request on his desk.
Yeah.
I'll leave you my request, Kenny.
So what I told this person was, I agree. First, you need to have a line of credit. Like, you don't need to go get a line of credit when you need it, but you need to have it sitting there just waiting. And so I asked him, I was like, "Do you have any trucks, equipment, anything like that that's paid for?" He's like, "Oh yeah, all my things are paid off. Da 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 da." I said,
Perfect.
"Good. Go to the bank." I was like, "Go in the bank, get a
They may not
loan."
give you a full value for what they are,
Yeah,
but I mean,
right.
hey,
Yeah, so
whatever you got.
that's a whole concept that, like, if you're curious, you can look it up. But there's like the whole loan to value thing, and so that's why you have to put down payments when you go buy stuff, is because of the loan to value side of it. So what I find,
I'm sorry, I'm saying banker talk, and
yeah,
you're like my wife now. I go home and I talk about a HELOC or whatever. It's like you're talking banker talk. I don't know what you're talking about, LTV and all that
right,
stuff.
all right, yeah. So loan to value, LTV.
Yep.
Kenny said he's got you covered.
All right,
he's
sweet.
gonna knock it out, man.
Sweet.
So
He's actually at your house now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
no,
That's
he'll be
quick.
there in about 18 seconds. Yeah. So I told him, I was like, I'd start with that. Like,
Yeah.
if you need some cash right now, I'd go to whatever bank you use and be like, "Here's the title to my truck. Can you give me a loan against that or something like
Or
that?"
even you could do something unique. I mean, you mentioned that the guy had a couple $100,000 in the bank. I'm not saying tie all that up, but
Well, he doesn't anymore.
well, right, because he used it. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, go do put, I don't know, just make up a number. Do half of it in a CD or something, and then pledge that CD
Yeah.
for a line, and then all of a sudden that's fully secured.
Yeah.
But you didn't spend your money.
Yeah. So I was going to talk about that a little bit later on.
See,
the
that's the
whole
creative side of it.
the CD loan
Yep.
thing that I learned about
Yep.
a couple months ago. That's a pretty cool concept.
But
So-
the thing is with that, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No,
But
you're
the
good.
thing is with that is the guy you're talking about ended up just spending his money out of the account.
That's right.
If I take some of that, just say some of that money over here and set it to the side, and all of a sudden I did a loan based on that being my collateral, well, I may not end up using that money. So I used the bank's money instead at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I pay that back. Well, guess what? The money I just set over to the side is still there.
Well,
It never went anywhere, but I used the bank's money instead.
so is the interest situation, you said it's like regulated, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you're drawing interest on a CD, then there's a set amount that
Now it
the
may be
loan-
bank to bank, but most banks are like a 2% spread. Now they could probably do more if they wanted to. I mean, it's probably
Right.
more of their policy, but majority of banks usually do like a 2%, 2.5%, some sort of smaller spread
Okay.
based on whatever they're paying you on the CD.
So
if they're paying you 3% on a CD, our policy is I can't charge you any more than 5%.
right.
Because it's
So
2%.
me as the person getting a loan, it's costing me 2%.
Correct.
Right. And I mean,
Because you're technically using your own money.
like, unless you go get a 0% interest special on a new vehicle or something like that, you're not going to beat a 2% loan.
No, I
Like-
mean, and if you on the other side of that is, if you think about it, you're really using your money. The bank's using your money.
Right.
Bank's just holding your money while they turn around and loan it out to you. But
That's right.
you're actually making a little money and you're getting charged less interest.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
so
what a 2% thing.
It's a sweet deal.
Yeah,
And
And
you
people
know,
don't think about it that way.
well, I mean,
They
I
just
didn't.
think, oh my gosh, they're tying up my money I got in the bank.
Yeah.
You know.
So I just got to say, I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like when Micah called and said, "Hey, I've got some extra pipe on this job," we really could have had fun with that.
I didn't know. I thought it was serious.
I didn't know what was going on.
I
at
was
first.
like, oh, Dan knows this guy. I should really
From Florida.
stay professional.
Right. So this is
Keep it
Micah from
professional.
Florida. It wasn't. This is Micah, and I just talked to you a couple days ago. We're doing this job, like it wasn't proper.
Let him call back. I got something for you. This
Right.
time.
Right. Okay. Let's have a retake. Micah, call up here again.
I'm not currently taking any applications for pipe. That's not my response.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I don't need any. Thanks. Bye.
We've got enough. So yeah, there's a lot of creative ways to finance stuff.
It is.
And so that's cool. Creative financing. But what's interesting to me is you said collateral is king. So on your side of the world, collateral is king, as where everybody else in the world, cash is king.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm speaking more of the loan talk.
Right.
but,
Right.
as far as getting what you want. So,
Mhm. Yep. So you there you good? Okay. So I also had a note here, like get a loan against some real property, like maybe you got a house or some land or something like that.
Mhm.
That's going to take time though. I really, unless you can tell me I'm wrong, but the like vehicle or equipment or something seems to
It's
be
quicker.
probably the fastest way.
Yeah. Yeah. Any kind of residential, commercial, whatever property. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you got to do an appraisal, an
Yeah.
evaluation, some sort of thing like that. But, and then title work. I mean,
Yeah.
the bank's going to check and make sure there's no other liens out there. And that's just kind of a few more steps involved. But
Yeah.
that goes back to what I just said too about collateral being king. So, Dan goes to buy whatever building down the street. All of a sudden, hey, I need $200,000, but I really don't want to put anything down. I don't have any cash sitting aside to put down on the deal. Okay, well, do you have any other property?
By the way, that's a normal conversation between me and Kirk. Hey, Kirk.
How can I do this without any money out of my
That's
pocket?
right.
Yeah.
I got $0 to put down,
Yeah.
but I want this nice shiny thing.
But that's why I just said collateral. So, but I do have this other building that I don't owe as much on, or maybe I don't owe anything on, and I have a bunch of value there. So, hey, I'm going to pledge that along with the new building I'm buying, and all of a sudden, you don't have to put anything down.
Right.
You're using the asset as your advantage.
Right. Yeah.
But you got to
so-
be creative to do that. And I say that because being at a community bank, you can do those sort of things. That's what I love about being at a smaller community bank. You're at a big bank, big box bank, XYZ bank, whatever. If you don't fit in that box, it doesn't work. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're buying that building. It's $200,000. You need 15% down, 20% down, whatever it is.
Right.
And then, I don't have that. Well, okay, I can't do it.
Wow.
And that's just kind of how they think.
Right.
where we're trying to make it happen some kind of way.
And you miss that payment, we're coming to the racket club after you.
Coming to the club, poker game's over.
That's right. So what about factoring?
See, I'm not the expert in that field. You probably know more about it than me.
All I know is you can basically like sell your receivables.
Yeah, it's much more complicated, but
Yeah.
it goes back to that kind of receivable type line that you got to really keep up with and have a lot of times those are going to be more of a lower loan to value thing. So
Yeah.
if it's or if I'm using real property or whatever, let's just say I can do 85% of the value you got on factoring, accounts receivable, that sort of thing. We may do 50%, 40%, whatever. It's just kind of it's because it's more risky.
Right.
It makes
Oh
sense.
yeah. Well, because I mean, especially if you look at like someone's history and you see,
Right.
oh, you're writing off X amount per year. Like, yeah. now your LTV, so to speak, is really changing.
So that's why you got to, and those things are more of a monthly type monitoring, or some of them can be even more than that.
Yeah.
Really, up to date type stuff that you got to keep up with.
Yeah.
So
We
a lot of people don't like it, really, honestly.
We explored that a little bit back some years ago, and we didn't ever do it. I don't know.
They
it just
charge you
kinda-
more.
Yeah, it's a weird deal too.
Mhm.
But one time, Kirk,
Uh-oh.
so we were doing this big job, and I mean, this was in like 2015, right? And as we've discussed, things were a little rocky back then, and I mean, this was a big job, and I was like, Kirk, I'm a little nervous about this job, man. I might need some money. And he's like, oh, don't worry. Go see this dude in Arlington. Okay. And so I go over to this guy's office and sit down and talk to him. And he's like, oh, yeah. I can give you some money. Yeah. He's like, and I want 15% a month. I was like, what? No.
There you go. Factoring.
Yeah. So there's a
risk reward.
That's right. And some people have figured it out and they know you got no other option and they're going to get everything they can out of you. So the biggest advice I can give people is just pay attention to what's going on. Right. And look at your financial stuff all the time. Look at your numbers, know what you've got coming up, know what, jobs you have coming up, what receivables you have, all of that. I mean, you got to stay on top of receivables. That's a big deal. And, plan in advance. So one, the line of credit thing is honestly, it's pretty easy. It is a process to go through, but as long as you got some collateral credit and all of that, like you can find a line of credit. So plan in advance with that. Look at your numbers all the time. And, you don't want the first time you call a bank to be like, hey, I'm broke and I need to pay payroll tomorrow. That is not going to go well.
Not going to be good.
No. So,
but most conversation a banker has with a customer is, hey, I need to do this deal. Okay, let's talk about it. Send me the information. And okay, I got the information. Okay, when are we going to do it?
Yeah.
It's more of a, well, if you need it that fast, why didn't you call me a week ago?
Yeah. Right.
It's always hurry, hurry, hurry.
So I kind of do things probably the opposite of what a lot of people do, maybe.
You do.
But I'll look at something and be like, man, I want to do this. And so I'm going to call Kirk and I'm going to call the insurance company and I'm going to talk to both of them. And I'm going to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing or buying or, whatever the case may be. And I want to make sure that neither one of them throw up a red flag, first of all. And, if both of them are like, oh, yeah, sure, we can make that work, then I'll kind of go through and start actually exploring it a little more. But, I try not to be in that situation where I'm like, oh, hey, I just signed a contract for this $10 million property. Now I need you to give me a loan. Like, that's you can't do it like that.
Smart move.
So I want to talk a little bit about the bankee. I don't even know what word goes there. Relationship. What's the word, Zach? What's the word? Come
I
on.
like it.
So,
Banky.
what do banks like to see from a customer to consider them being a good customer?
As far as
Anything? Like, can you give me 3, 2, 1,
well, knowing the customer, I mean, is a big deal. I mean, that's pretty common, I guess. But being trustworthy, credit history is a big deal. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
on anything you do. But
So we've talked about the tax return stuff, like your example you gave earlier. Don't be the guy that turned in 2 tax returns and then skip 3.
exactly. Just being upfront, I guess, and really explaining the situation. You don't want a banker to all of a sudden start digging into the information you give them and finding things that maybe you probably should have told them about, or hey, I'm giving you these 3 years of tax returns, and these past 2 years or the middle year, let's just say, was, yeah, it looks a little different, but here's why. Yeah, the numbers dipped, but maybe I did a big expansion, or I'm just making stuff up, but whatever it was, just explain that sort of thing so that when the banker gets the information, they don't look at it and go, hey, because then they start thinking of their own reasons why.
Right.
What happened? Why is that? So, they start asking all these
yeah.
questions. So being upfront, I've just always been a big relationship
Mhm.
banker. I mean, I think I mentioned that when we talked about it really doesn't matter the name on the bank. It's more of I can't tell you the deals and the stuff I do now. That's mainly just from people I've always dealt with. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just one of those things that, I know them, they know me. We take care of each other. I know they're not trying to, out to get me type thing or whatever. Because bankers are notorious for thinking, somebody's trying to get something over on them.
Yeah, right.
I'm not answering your question really, because you asked for 3 things.
I mean, it's a hard question.
Yeah, hard
So
question.
just for the record, Kirk did have the agenda before the show,
I didn't look at it.
but he didn't look at it. So
Should have
he
studied.
he is kind of on the spot
was
here,
working.
but yeah, trying to make those deals.
Yeah, that's
right.
I didn't answer your 18 calls. No, but it is a relationship thing more than any. I mean,
So-
it's more, you got to establish a good relationship with whoever you're trying to deal with, just because, if you're just that guy that wants to go in and explain yourself to 10 different people and have that conversation a million times.
Yeah. So here's what I've got. Give regular data,
That's good. I
right?
like that.
So tax returns, financials, all of that stuff.
And don't wait too long if you have problems.
Right.
Don't be the guy that, hides it, or gal, I should say. Don't be the one that hides it and doesn't, if you start seeing an issue, go ahead and talk about it,
Yeah.
because 9 times out of 10, the bank, like I said, they don't want your property. They don't want
Right.
your stuff. They want to help you figure out how to get out of it.
Right. So Kenny commented here. What happens when you invoice someone over and over and they don't pay and you have to send it to collections? Do you ever see that money on small repairs? Who's your question directed to, Kenny? Us or Kurt? And we'll let Kenny answer that. So you've mentioned my father-in-law a couple times. That's Alyssa's dad.
Yeah.
For Zach's not.
He's just sitting there like, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Zach's difficult in this whole like father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law kind of conversation. He's like, no, that does not apply.
This one works.
Okay,
That's
you sure
correct.
you
That's
approve?
correct.
You approve of this
If
one?
there's a person that is married to someone in Dan's family, they're I don't know how to,
No. Her sister is my sister-in-law, and that her sister's husband is my brother-in-law.
that's the wrong one. That's not true. I don't agree with that.
Okay, but I can use the father-in-law one. All right. So Kirk has been my father-in-law a couple times, and one of the things he's always said is, "Don't lie to the banker and don't lie to the insurance
There you
folks."
go. See,
And I mean, I believe
Well-
that, and so I'm an advocate for that whole thing of, if you got problems, just tell the bank.
go ahead and start talking about
Right.
it.
That's, I
Don't-
mean, we've talked about that even just in the business as far as sales is concerned. As a project manager, I'd like to tell my customer, oh shit, the material's running late. Instead
Explicit.
of the day that we show up, we're supposed to be on site
Mhm.
saying, oh yeah, well, why didn't you come yesterday?
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
So, and even as far as the spirit of this podcast, our intent was to kind of get out here and just be transparent. I mean, and that
Right.
seems to be just, I don't know, a point of character that we're kind of discussing that works across the board.
Yeah,
you know?
don't be the customer who all of a sudden the bank's, me, tomorrow's end of the month for us. So I don't want to look at my past due report tomorrow and all of a sudden see
Right.
Dan's name on it.
Right.
Like, hey, what happened? You know,
Wait,
so
Right.
now-
Do you think that people have kind of a unnecessary or unwarranted fear around
It could
banks and
be.
bankers and
Probably so.
that
I
kind
mean,
of a
it's
thing?
more of they're scared to go to the special asset department.
That's right. You don't want to wind up there. So I think it's pretty similar to the whole like project management side of it. We don't want to call the customer and tell them, hey, we screwed up. We don't want to have that interaction. We don't want to call the bank and say, hey, we screwed up. We don't want to have that interaction.
Right.
Like we're just in general afraid of any interaction that we think may result in something negative.
Right.
But a lot of times, if you, let's just say you did call the bank and say, hey, Kirk, I got, this month, this 2 months, whatever, been kind of hard, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me out? Well, it may be something as simple as, well, yeah, let me get you to sign this little extension. If you got a 60-month loan here, sign this extension. It gives you 30 days, and we'll just tack that note on the end of the month, on the end of the 60 days, and you'll
No
pay
problem.
an additional
Right.
month. And then all of a sudden, problem solved.
So
instead of all the issues of now I'm late every month, and now I'm accruing all these late charges every month, and then it becomes a problem.
Right.
So listeners, I've told you, I've said it before, have somebody you can pick up the phone and call. A banker, an insurance person, suppliers, all of that. Someone you can pick up the phone and call. You heard what Kirk just said right there. I mean, you don't want to call and be like, hey, here's my account number, here's my loan number, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to get the same treatment. So that's just my opinion. But anyways.
Good opinion.
So I said, do we need to take them to lunch or like sponsor their kids, little league team, anything like that to help or
Basketball ad and a basketball.
right?
Yeah. We've done that before too, haven't we?
I was just
helps.
it helps.
No, not really. It's just a nice gesture. Let's just say that.
Right. Showing a little love. That's all it is.
That's right.
So yeah, put on here, communicate any upcoming situations. We've already touched on that a little bit, so I'll kind of just breeze by that one. Again, when I want to do any of the crazy cockamamie ideas is that a real word? I think I've said that like 3 times.
A lot.
It's explicit, I'm sure.
Is
Just
it?
saying.
Yeah, sounds like it.
No, we're marked
Yeah.
explicit because
Guy's gonna call back in.
he never did. So Kenny wants to know, is asking me if
Kenny's
we
our
invoice.
best listener.
Yeah, this week is Kenny. If we invoice somebody over and over and they don't pay and you have to send it to collections, do you ever see that money? Generally.
Not really.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, generally, I would say at least like 60 or 70% of the time, I think maybe even more, I think our collections people are successful. Alyssa, you got anything to say on that?
I agree.
Is she the collection department?
She's a
Is
little
she
bit
special asset?
She's a little more in the special assets division than I am. And I think most of the time they do. Of course, we have to pay attorneys to go collect it. And so we had a situation a week ago where collections attorneys have been going after these people over and over and over again. And I guess they finally talked to somebody and they're like, oh, just email the invoice to these people and we'll get you paid.
No big deal.
Yeah. The same people that we've emailed it to 18
You've
times.
never even caught on to the fact that I laid that up to you to call your wife a special asset. You
Oh,
just phone moving.
she is a special asset.
I tried.
Good job, Kirk. So, so what they did is like in our contract and everything, it's like, hey, if you don't pay your bill, we're going to bill you all the collections fees and attorney fees, blah, blah, blah. And you know what they paid? They paid the bill. They just conveniently forgot to pay all the collection fees, attorney fees, everything else. And I mean, we sent them the invoice from the law firm and was like, here's the extra money that you owe. And again, just conveniently forgot that. So, I would say in general, we don't get 100% of the money, but most of the time we get, 85%, something like that. And there certainly are times where you get 0%.
I would say commercial, you do have a lot better chance than residential.
Just finding the right person to turn the invoice into.
Yeah. We got the collections attorney that we use on like bigger stuff. So if it's a little thing, we send it to some collections agency and, it just gets handled by AI or whatever. But like the bigger stuff we send to a like actual collections attorney. And I mean, they'll get nasty sometimes.
Yeah.
They've gone and like taken money out of people's personal. I remember one time they went and they levied the business owner's wife's savings account. And they took the money out of that. And the guy pitched a fit and they're like, nope, when you signed that contract with Memphis Fence Company, you did not put your title beside your name. So you signed that contract as an individual, not as an officer of the company, which means we can go after your personal assets.
Wow.
Yeah, you know all those documents we give you when you sign those loans. Do you read all the details?
I don't read any of it.
Okay, good.
Oh, Angie was in my office today. And so ironically enough, whenever you're like, I'm going to get my end of the month report and see Dan on there. Well, actually not, because we took care of my outstanding paperwork today that was 2 months old. But so Angie walked in as I was signing all that. And I was like, this is how I sign bank documents. And like, I didn't read a single word of any of it. I just put my signature.
It's not funny, but that stuff, bankers, we can reach in there and grab money out of accounts, and it's not funny, but sometimes you do that when somebody's been past due or they're kind of routinely past due, and you go out there and snatch whatever payment it is. All of a sudden you get that person calling in that tried to call for 2 or 3
you've been trying to
weeks.
call them for months, and then next thing you know, they're calling.
Yeah,
it's funny how that happens.
386-340-2058.
Wow, that's loud.
This pipe guy.
Hello, caller. Oh gosh.
Hey man, who is it?
Who we got on that phone over there?
Hey, it's Micah. I'm back.
Oh, Micah called back.
Hey, put your pipe away. We don't want any.
So we were kind of caught off guard earlier, Micah. We didn't really know what was going on, but we then realized.
Neither did we. Me and Cannon were just calling to ask you a legit question and didn't know that y'all happened to have a call-in hour going on.
Yeah. So we're live on our Finch show here, and so like I said, it caught us a little off guard.
Yeah, us too. We were having fun though. So now that I've called back, have you talked yet about this fence going through a 4-foot deep riprap quarry?
So when I came up there the other day, I meant to bring some diapers and pacifiers to give to y'all to go with all that crying.
No, but
we got it all out.
Yeah,
we have talked about having y'all on the show to talk about this job a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's Cannon's perspective on what he thought about what was going to go down and what's actually happening over there.
Oh, it's a mess, man. So listeners, they're putting this fence job in, and it's like 2,200 feet of 8-foot tall black fence, and I think about 700 feet of it is through some pretty big riprap. And I mean, there's places out there where this riprap is like 2 and 3 foot deep. There's some boulders out there that are probably 400 pounds. I mean, it's nasty. And so they've been out there fighting with that thing for a week now, something like that.
Yeah, it's been it's been a week to get 700 foot of post in with top rail.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And the bad thing is, like, you look at the drawing and it's all nice and pretty on those drawings. And then you get out there and you're like, oh crap.
Boulders.
Yeah. So we normally don't have
the toughest thing with this is, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we normally don't deal with boulders here in West Tennessee, but this is definitely a unique situation.
Yeah, I guess the crying part came from being an original Florida fence fan, and then being shocked to see something like
Florida
this.
man.
I know we get a lot of grief for building fence in Florida.
Yeah, do y'all have rocks in Florida? Do they exist down there?
There's a couple pieces of limestone here and there.
Yeah. You almost just like drop post and they sink in the sand, right? You don't even have to dig ever. No post driver required.
We usually foam. No, we usually dig and foam set everything.
Foam? Okay. Well, there you go.
It's a joke, guys.
Yeah, I got it.
I believed it.
All right, man. Thanks for calling back.
Cool, man. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that was a little bit better than last time. I thought remember, who was it? Oh, Jacob, when he called.
Oh, yeah, that was an accident.
Yeah, so Jacob just randomly called one time. He does gate automation for us. And he calls, and I was like, "Hey, we're doing a show. You're on the show." And he's like, He's like, well, what am I allowed to say or something? I was like, I don't know, say whatever you want. And he just started running.
Hey, Zach, is that quote you gave me for
Yeah.
this amount really real for this product?
For this customer, this amount at this location, and like started getting into some.
You're like,
I was
"All
like,
right, never
whoa,
mind."
whoa, you are actually on the air, man.
Well, and that was y'all's first episode, but the second time y'all recorded, right?
Yeah, that maybe was the time it was muted or something.
No, it made it. I
Oh.
think that was the first episode.
Oh, okay.
Just y'all's second run through.
Kenny says everything looks good on drawings. That's why you need to do a site visit for sure. It all looks good on drawings, and that's a challenging thing because the site's not there.
Right.
Like when there's
Do
drawings,
a site visit to what?
to a grass field, like that's all that was there. But so what we always want to do is a site visit before we send a crew. Right.
Sure,
So,
makes
and we
sense.
did, we went up and we looked at this job and talked to the superintendent, and there was like a plan, and things just kind of spiraled from there. It just,
Things do change a little bit, don't they?
Yeah,
on
they-
big commercial jobs.
they do. And they did. And it kind of got us in a little pickle there. But, all right. So back to Kirk. So we talked about the line of credit. We talked about we can use
Oh, Kirk, the
equipment.
banker's
I'm
with
here.
us.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
He's still
Kirk.
here. He's still here. So we talked about how we can use like equipment and all that stuff. So I have a question. Does the line of credit have to be at the same bank that like your checking account and stuff like that is at?
Not necessarily, but it obviously helps. Just from what I said before, if you have that established relationship with the bank, it kind of makes that an easier process. It's more, well, it goes back to what you just said about collecting payments. What if I need to take it out of your account to pay? No.
Right. So he wants you to have
That's
all your
right.
money at his bank. So
That's
he
right.
can get,
Well, you can snatch it if you
Right.
need to, but
That's
no,
right.
not necessarily. You don't have to have it that way, because just going back to what I said, if you deal with a larger bank that maybe has a more specialized department for that,
Mhm.
you may have to do that. But you may want to have your local, closer community bank, whatever, that's handling your account. So that's not that's not one of those you got to have it one way.
So from my perspective, as the bank-e,
You're a
is
bank-e.
the coin, the term
it's
that
I
bank-
don't think
Banking.
that's right, but I like
I don't either.
banky.
yeah, we just made it up. You
that's
heard
a
it
good
first
name.
here on the PowerHouse Fin Show.
Trademark.
So as the bank-e, it's a lot easier to just pick up the phone and be like, hey, can you put some money in my account, please? And it just gets stuck in there. That's the only thing I know that makes it a lot easier, instead of having to like move money between banks and all that kind of stuff.
It would make it much easier to get it the way you want it. Yeah, it would. But I'm just saying you don't have to have it that
So
way.
let me tell y'all a little life hack for this one.
Uh-oh.
All you got to do is have an account at every bank,
That's true.
right? So you can be Alyssa's shaking her head over here, but you just have an account at every bank. And then that way, when they need to give you some money, you're like, oh yeah, just stick it
put
in
it in
that
that
account, and I'll just write a check to the other account. And so there's a little secret there.
Well, going back, you're talking about a site visit. I mean, bankers do that too.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot in our loan committee meetings, because, there's, let's just say it's 25 loan officers talking about different deals. And a lot of times our senior lender type folks, they're always going to say, well, have you seen the property?
Mhm.
Because you have those times where whoever calls and says, hey, I'm trying to buy this house, or I'm going to use this piece of collateral, whatever. And you always as a banker want to put your eyes on what you're doing,
Right.
because you don't want to pull up and all of a sudden, I've seen the disasters where it's I got 10 acres here in whatever town, and you pull up and it's like a flag lot.
Yeah.
It's like an easement back behind 12 houses to get to this flag lot.
It
That's
was
where
a-
my land is.
It was a landfill last week.
Yeah,
you
no
know?
big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in fact, we just did that on these buildings down the
Yeah,
street
yeah.
that we did the
Yeah.
deal on. So Kirk came out, and so me, him, and the realtor, all three walked
That's
the
right.
buildings there at the same time so that he could put eyes on it. But yeah, I mean, I think in our business, a site visit is a very important part of the process. A lot of time, like I said, on these blueprints and stuff like that, the site's not there. Same thing in the banking world. Like if you're given a construction loan, the site's not there. But
Right.
probably before you roll it into like a real loan,
Well,
or
you can
whatever
get down
you
to
say.
the fact that, let's just say you're doing a loan on building a house, and if they don't put the footing in the right place,
Yeah.
it could be over the line, or it could be, the setbacks or whatever there's out there. You want to make sure,
Yeah.
you're not messing something up to where you all of a sudden now you got a slab and now you got to move it.
Right.
You got a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, so y'all probably do like a site visit and look at the built house or building
for
or
sure.
whatever before you
supposed
convert
to.
it to a real loan.
Yep.
And so again, what I was saying with Kenny, or to Kenny's point there, is like when we're bidding a job that's just a set of plans, there is no site to look at, but we always want to go out and look before we send a crew, because man, we get burned on that deal a lot where, oh yeah, we're ready for you. And we go out there and they're like,
It's a mess.
no, you're not. So that job that Micah has called about a couple times, we've got some other guys out there installing some iron fence as well. And excuse me. And man, those guys had to take a skid steer and like do some dirt work. And the contractor's like, well, let me just pay y'all to do it. You're here, you've got a machine sitting here, like, let's just get it done. And I mean, that's what we had to do. So he's out there like grading where the fence is going and all that stuff. But
Or think about the banker who had the house in the beginning of the show where I said, we'll go out there and all of a sudden they've extended all the construction loan money, but then it was a shell of a house.
yeah, so
Not sure he kept his job.
So you don't want to just drive by.
Yeah.
Right. You want to get out and look.
You want to make sure.
So so you know Trump? Donald Trump? You familiar with him?
I've heard the
Okay.
name.
Okay. So he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. And I don't know when it was written, 80s, 90s, something like that. I mean, it was written quite a while ago. And so in the book, he talks about one of the first deals that he did was buying an apartment complex that was, I don't remember where it was, New Mexico or something like that. And he said that when he was selling it, there was like an investment group or whatever that was buying it from him. And I think I've got the story right. I might be wrong. If you want to know for sure, you can read the book. But this like investment group was going to buy the apartment complex from him. And, they had done some remodeling and fixed up a bunch of stuff and like filled the buildings and all this kind of stuff. And so he said when he was talking to the guy that was coming out to do the inspection, young guy, early in his career, all of that. And he said this guy just kept talking about this restaurant. It was in the local town there. And so he said what he did was he went ahead and reserved the best table in the restaurant, had all that set up, picked the guy up from the airport. They went to the restaurant. They sat in there a few hours, had a big meal, had some drinks, all of that stuff. And he took the guy back to the airport and he got on the plane and left. They never even
went to the property.
Never even went to the property. So yeah, if you're your guy doing the inspection should probably see the property and actually look in the windows,
Yeah.
Don't just drive by. Same thing in our industry. Like if you're going out to look at a site, you shouldn't just drive by. You should stop and look, because you never
Make
know.
sure there's any boulders.
There may be some boulders back there in the back. So
Or booby traps, as we learned last week.
that's right. We heard about booby traps last week. So that's a crazy story still. But anyway, so we're pretty much at the end. That's all I've got.
That was fast.
I don't know if it does. It goes by
It goes by
fast. doesn't it?
fast.
And it's hard. I mean, I got this little timer sitting here telling me we've been talking for an hour and 17 minutes. And, I try to cram a lot into that hour. And
That
that's
is a
pretty
lot of info.
challenging, but it goes fast. So do you have any closing thoughts? Zach, you got any questions? You've been kind of quiet, man.
Quiet, man.
Well, I mean, we got the banker.
That's right. We got the expert.
Right.
Yeah, right.
What do I have to add to that, really? I guess just the premise of this being a show about banking, I just have a little bit more serious approach tonight than usual.
I
Just
should have
saying.
brought my tie.
That's right.
Right. Well, that's what I expected, So
I do like how y'all have the matching top button done there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or style.
So no
I think
closing.
I scared him in the beginning when I talking about the hearse and
Yeah.
right.
walking
yeah.
into the club. And
Yeah.
He's a little nervous.
he's like, oh,
Right.
He
Right.
backed up real quick.
We don't need to mess with this guy. Y'all got anything?
I'm good. I hope I didn't mess your show up. Hope it went
I-
well.
It's still going.
Boring. People,
It's not broke.
LTVs and HELOCs. And
Yeah,
we
but
could say all the words that nobody knows.
all this stuff, I mean, honestly, it is kind of boring from like an entertainment perspective, but it's informative. And
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
going to go into business and try to have any of these type of relationships, like you got to start with some little bit of information and try to build on that. So,
Hopefully, it's some good info.
yeah, I mean, I sure didn't know anything about the banking world when I got into it, other than I did not want to be in the special assets division. I learned that pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
And, so again, fortunately,
I
Kirk
think,
got us out of there.
Yeah.
Save the day.
Just the importance of having a personal relationship with your banker stands out from this
Yeah.
to me, among some of the other things. But I also cash flow would have made sense to me as being
Mhm.
number one, and you're saying collateral, which is kind of news to me. So
Well, you want to. The bank wants to know it's secured. I mean, cash flow
Sure.
is important, obviously. I mean, you want the cash flow's got to be there for the business to stay in business. But on the other side of that is you got to have something to fall back on if things
Sure.
go crazy.
right.
When things go boom.
When things go boom.
Well, I
So-
appreciate you coming on the
Yeah,
show,
man.
man. I know you didn't really know what you were getting into,
Had
and
no idea.
you haven't done anything like this before,
Nope.
I guess. And you did great, though. I sure appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it. This is
Not
our
too bad, man.
closing
Not
remarks.
bad at all. This
Not too
fancy
bad.
studio. It's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for whoever's watching. Thanks, Cannon, for chiming in the comments. Thanks, Micah, for calling in. Thank you, Kenny, for
Kenny
watching and being part of the show. Kenny was our guest last week.
last
who's
week.
Okay.
a member of the Memphis Fence Company team, family, however you want to look at that. And I think that's it, everybody. So thank you for joining in. Powerhouse
Yeah.
podcast peoples.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks for-
making up terms right and left over here.
Bankies.
Right,
Bankies.
that's
I like
right.
it.
Powerhouse.
All right, Bankies. Powerhouse Bankies.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next week.
Adios.